Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. This week we're looking at a bass line from one of my favourite bass players of all time. It's one of the first riffs that I ever played in a band and can be deceptively difficult for a beginner. The song is Stone Cold Crazy by Queen and the bass player is the eternally underrated John Deacon. So the riff that we're looking at is the main riff that you hear before each verse. It's pretty quick at 240 beats per minute, and this song could be seen as a very early example of thrash metal. So much so that Metallica actually recorded a cover of this tune some 20 years later. Now, before I show you the actual notes of this riff, it's worth mentioning that I'm going to show you a couple of different ways you can play it. First of all, there's the more popular way, how most people play it and how I originally learned it, that tends to follow the guitar line more. So that sounds like this. But thanks to all of the isolated bass and drum tracks kicking around on YouTube, from things like Rock Band, it's now possible to hear exactly how John Deacon played it on the original recording. And it's quite a bit different, and it sounds like this. So there are less of the hammer-ons in there, so at the start we don't have the, it's just on the G, and it never jumps up the octave to, so you never have any of that in there. So it's a bit of a simplified version, so I'm going to show you both of these. Also, the song is originally played with a pick, but I know there's a lot of exclusive fingerstyle players out there, so I am going to show you how to play it both with a pick and fingerstyle. So, first of all, let's have a look at the original version that John Deacon actually played, and I'm playing this with the pick. So, it's in G minor, and we begin on a G, 3rd fret of the E string, and we have 7 notes on there. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then we hit the B flat at the 1st fret of the A string. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the B flat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so either way you want to count it. Then for the next part we have, so F to G, so 1st fret to 3rd fret of the E string, and then B flat to C, 1st fret to the 3rd fret on the A string. So we have F, hammer on to the G, so 1st fret to 3rd fret hammer on. Then we hit the G twice after that, so. Okay. So you just have to get used to that hammer-on move there. Then we have this little climb up chromatically from B, C, C sharp to the D. Okay, so 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th fret on the A string. Okay, so. And that's it. Okay, that's the whole riff as he originally played it. So very slowly we have 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so just round and round. So you want to start really slowly with this riff and just slowly build up speed, focusing on your technique, getting a really nice clean technique with lots of good muting. And the majority of that is going to be focusing on the picking hand, okay? That's where a lot of the problems are going to lie. So we start on that G, and you can fret it with either finger. I'm going to start with the 4th finger, the pinky, but for each repeat you'll probably be on the 1st finger. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the B flat. So we're starting on a downstroke. So alternate picking throughout. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then when we get to the B flat, we've got the upstroke, and that's where you can find problems, because some people will naturally try and fall onto a downstroke when they move across the strings, but with this riff, it's important to concentrate on getting at that upstroke. So again, start really slowly with that until the muscle memory develops and it's just automatic. Okay, then when we get to the hammer-on part, so you've got to get used to hammer-ons to begin with if you're not used to them. So we've got the first finger hammering onto the pinky there, and I'm playing downstroke for the first note, the F, and then up, down for the next. Okay? And then I start the next hammer-on, I start with an upstroke. So on the B flat, I've got the upstroke. So, okay? And then when you come up, you can just alternate again. Okay? So we're on an upstroke when we get to the D there, which leads us back into the riff on the G with the downstroke. Okay? So again, start very slowly and focus on that picking. So 2, 3, 4. For one other little technical tip, when we've got that little chromatic run from B up to the D, in terms of the fretting hand, you can either play one finger per fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, so just using each of the fingers in turn, or you can start on the first finger and then shift up to the first finger again for the C, so, and then play second and fourth finger, so. Okay, so some of you that don't have much of a stretch will probably find that a bit easier, and it can actually just seem a little easier and tidier anyway, so. See how I'm just making the position shift there. Now, if you want to play this fingerstyle, obviously the fretting hand, that's all going to be the same, and we use the same kind of principle that we did with the pick, but with the fingers. So we're going to be starting on the first finger. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so we've got the middle finger there for the B flat. Okay, then we switch to the first finger for the hammer on, so, and then alternate, so it's 1, 2, 1. So then on the B flat to the C, it's 2, 1, 2. So, and then just alternate as you come up through the chromatic line there. So. Then we're back to the first finger again for the G. So, exactly the same kind of principles as we had with the pick, but just with the fingers. So you want to start out really, really slowly with this riff, really concentrating on keeping a clean technique there, and don't bother with a metronome or anything like that to begin with. Just get those notes under your fingers. Then as you feel much better with it and you're starting to keep it in time, then you can use a metronome to track your progress as you build up speed. Now, I've created several different practice tracks, drum tracks, over at talkingbass.net that you can play along to. So just click on the link in the info below. And there are several different speeds. We've got 160 beats per minute, then up to 200 beats per minute, 220 beats per minute, and finally 240 beats per minute, which is the original tempo. So let's have a try at 160 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, let's build up speed a little. Let's try 200 beats per minute. Now let's try a little quicker. Let's try 220 beats per minute. And finally, let's try the original tempo of 240. So that was how John Deacon originally played the line, but now let's have a look at the more popular way of playing it, the more popular transcription that most people learn, including myself. So it's pretty much the same notes, but instead of starting on a G, we're actually starting on an F and hammering onto the G. Okay? So you want to start on the first fret of the E string with the first finger and then just hammer on to the G, third fret of the E string with the pinky or fourth finger. Okay, and when you do this, you've got two ways of looking at the picking action. You can either start with a downstroke, but then when you move to the B flat, you're going to be hitting a downstroke as well. So this is different to how we originally played it. Or you can start on an upstroke on that F, and then hit the B flat with an upstroke. Either way, it doesn't matter, just pick one and stick with it, okay? So, next part's exactly the same. But then we've got to jump from that D back down to that F for the hammer on. So you've got to be careful there, that's going to be the part that might throw you, so. There's that quick jump down from the D down to the F. So that just will take a little bit of practice. So that's the first part of the riff. We play that twice. 3, 4. Then we take that F to G hammer on and we take it up the octave. So we play it up here at the 3rd fret to the 5th fret of the D string. Okay, so hammer on again, so, and then we can pull off from the G down to the F, so F, G, 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 F, and then down to the D, 5th fret of the A string, and then down to the B flat 1st fret of the A string. So, very slowly. Okay, and when we do this, you start with the downstroke, and then you hit a downstroke when you're on the D, and then the upstroke on the B flat. Okay, so all together, because you play that twice, by the way, so all together we have 3, 4, 3, 4. Okay, so that is the way that most people learn it, and I think that's how the Metallica one is played. I'm not too sure, I'd have to go back over that, but you know, if you're listening to the original, if you're listening to that guitar line, Brian May's guitar on it, that's probably what you would play, because you would instinctively think, oh, he's doubling the guitar, and just learn the guitar line. But when you listen to the isolated track, you can hear that he's actually playing something different. Now, just a quick word on the technique when we're playing the octaves up here. It's worth looking at the muting side of the picking hand. So once we've moved up, if you're not careful when you make that move from the D up to this high F and G, you're going to get a bit of noise from the residual sound from the strings below. So it's worth using the heel of the hand there, the heel of the palm, to mute these lower strings. So as you shift up, so you can see there I've moved the hand down slightly so that it's kind of catching the E and the A string, so you don't get any of that noise. Okay, so I'm not palm muting on the D string, I'm just muting those lower two strings. Okay. If you want to finger pick that line, then my big tip is to start with the second finger, the middle finger. That way, when you play it, when we land on the B flat, you're going to be landing on the middle finger again, which is a lot easier when you're moving up across the strings. Rest of it's the same. Then once we get up to that D and we have to play the octave, you want to be on the first finger for the F to the G. Then that way when we come down we have the pull off back to the F, then we've got the first finger when we're playing the D, which is a lot easier for coming back down the strings, and then we land on the second finger, for the B flat. Okay, so these are all the things that are worth concentrating on and focusing on when you're trying to build up speed, and when you're taking it slowly. You really want to focus on the actual finger picking, or the playing with a pick. Which one's an upstroke, which one's a downstroke, whether you're on the first finger, whether you're on the second finger. It's that stuff that's going to cause problems when you're building up speed. At slow tempos, it won't seem as problematic, but as you're building up the speed, you'll start to get finger twisted, and sometimes you just don't know why. And usually it's because you've not been keeping track of which finger you're supposed to be on. So again, you can work through the backing tracks with that riff, just building up speed slowly. So here it is at 160 beats per minute, and this is with a pick. So you can work through each of those practice tracks in turn until eventually you can play it at full speed, which is 240 beats per minute. So that's Stone Cold Crazy. Remember to like this video if it's helped, and subscribe to the Talking Bass channel. Also get on over to talkingbass.net, where you'll find hundreds more free lessons on every topic imaginable, and they're all on the lesson map, all systemized and organized for ease of navigation. Then if you want to take your playing further, check out any of the many bass courses that we have over there. Everything from beginner bass guitar through to sight reading, ear training, walking bass, slap bass, setups, and much, much more. So follow the link in the info below, and I'll see you next week.